My stepmother forgot to book me a ticket for the family trip for my birthday, but when I sent her a photo of what she stole from my deceased mother, she now wants to get me a first-class ticket. I am 17 years old and have had a problem with my stepmother. Let's call her Emily, even though that's not her real name. I think it's clear at this point that she doesn't like me very much. Unfortunately, for the past 2 years, we've had to live under the same roof because my mom passed away a couple of years ago, and since then, I've been staying with my dad. My parents divorced when I was 8, and when I was 12, he started dating Emily. A year and a half later, they got married. At first, I was okay with her, but gradually she started to irritate me because, in all honesty, I always felt like she didn't feel secure with me or my mom. She never liked it when I was around, and at my birthday parties, she made sure to sit in a corner wearing the face of a guest who hadn't been given cake. But it wasn't the cake, as she always refused it, saying it made her bloated. In general, she was unpleasant towards me, but in front of my father, she was the sweetest person, so much so that I thought I would get sick from it, as she would start acting as if we were best friends. This changed as soon as my father left the room and she would become bitter again. Naturally, I never liked her. I could tell she was fake, and I even tried to tell my dad, but he never believed me. He just felt I was upset about having a new person in my life to deal with. And since I was a teenager, he took me even less seriously because, according to him, I was just acting out. My mom didn't like her for the same reason, but unlike my father, she genuinely believed everything I told her. Anyway, it doesn't matter, because she was eventually diagnosed with a terminal illness, and by the time we found out, it was too late to do anything, so we lost her. That was it. Don't get me wrong, it's not that I hate my dad or anything like that. I love him. But sometimes it can be quite frustrating to deal with him because he never takes me seriously. And the fact that he's so diplomatic when it comes to me and Emily also annoys me because for the past 2 years, he has refused to try and resolve any problems we might have. He never gets involved. I can understand that he doesn't want to add more drama, but it's simply annoying because the insignificant fights and arguments Emily and I have had don't always have to be my fault. In fact, most of them are her fault, as she is simply too domineering. She always tries to control me, and for some reason she seems to think that now that my mom is gone, she can fill that role in my life, which will never happen because I am too old for that. And because the role she wants to fill is one of discipline, not that of a mother who also gives love, understanding, and those kinds of things. Anyway, she keeps trying to boss me around, which inevitably always ends in a fight. And my dad refuses to get involved. He tells us to sort it out on our own. And that's how the discomfort has been accumulating for almost 2 years. Recently, what she did around my birthday was simply the icing on the cake for me. A couple of days ago, I turned 17, and 2 days before my birthday, Emily announced that she had booked tickets for all family members so we could take a 5-day trip to Mykonos to celebrate my birthday. She knows I love the water, and Mykonos has literally been my dream destination for years, which adds another layer of meanness on her part. So I was quite excited, but also somewhat skeptical because it was very unusual for her to do something so nice for me. It's not that she couldn't afford it. She's quite successful in her career, and so is my dad. But for her to spend so much money to organize a trip for me, my father herself, my paternal aunt, and her children with whom I am very close, was simply very strange. It was quite a lot of money, as she planned for it to be a luxury trip for me to have a lot of fun. She said everything was already planned, and that she wanted to surprise me with this because she knew I had been having a lot of trouble adjusting to life without my mom. That's also why she had had so many problems with me, but now she wanted to leave all that behind so we could have a fresh start and get along. Basically, it was an olive branch, a gesture to bring us closer. And at that moment it seemed strange to me, but at the same time I had some doubt. I told her I was very grateful that she had done something so nice for me. I was very happy, but it didn't last long because she ruined the surprise for me on the morning of my birthday. So here's the problem. The day before my birthday, I decided to have a sleepover with a couple of my friends, as I wouldn't be able to spend the day with them as planned because we had an afternoon flight. I had it at my house, and in the morning we were watching a movie together when one of my friends started feeling very ill. She had a severe headache. At that time, no one was home as both my dad and Emily had gone to work. They had planned to return early so we could all leave for the airport on time, but my friend felt extremely dizzy and had a horrible headache, so I decided to ask my dad what I could do for her. I had already checked the medicine cabinet and didn't see anything that could help her, but my dad told me that Emily usually had some pills to help her with migraines as she suffered from them frequently. So he told me to check her closet because that's where she normally kept them. So I went and started looking for them, and that's when I found something else I had been looking for quite some time. It turns out Emily's closet was quite well organized, but I couldn't find her medicine box that my dad had described to me. So I had to reach very far back, and right at the back, hidden from view, I found my mom's jewelry box, which I thought had been stolen after her funeral. It was at the back of the closet under a pile of folded clothes she almost never uses, and no one would find it unless they were specifically looking for something like that. I remember when I was permanently moving into my dad's house, because before I used to split my time between my parents, I thought I had either lost it or that the box had been stolen. I'm not a girl who wears that kind of stuff. They've never appealed to me, but they belong to my mother, so regardless of their monetary value, there was sentimental value for me. Honestly, I couldn't even pinpoint exactly when it disappeared because obviously that was a very difficult time for me. And with the move and all that, I thought they had gotten lost or someone had stolen them. I just remember that after the sale of my mom's house, and while I was moving, I realized I couldn't find that box anywhere. And when I recalled it, I realized I hadn't seen it since the funeral. That was strange because my mom always kept it in one of the drawers of her dresser. I looked everywhere, checked the entire house, and couldn't find it. Even after moving, I checked my dad's entire house and still didn't find it. Finally, my father and I concluded that it must have been lost or stolen during the funeral, and that was that. We could have delved deeper into the matter, but at that moment I wasn't really in a state to because I was so miserable and exhausted without her. So when I found it in Emily's closet, I knew beyond a doubt that it had to be her because I couldn't imagine anyone else letting me be so miserable for so long without saying a word. My father wouldn't have done it, and Emily knew she had the capacity to do something like that. Obviously, I told my friends, and they confirmed what I already believed, that it must have been her who stole the box at some point and kept it for herself, probably just to make me feel bad. That annoyed me quite a bit. Then my friends left and I was left alone at home waiting for my dad and Emily to return so I could confront her about what I had found. But before I could do that, about an hour after finding the box in her closet, Emily sent me a message saying she had accidentally only booked 5 tickets. She said it had been a mistake, but now there were no more seats on the flight. She had already checked and requested the tickets, but the airline couldn't help. So what she was telling me was that I would have to miss my own birthday trip and ask a friend if I could stay with her because she had made a mistake, which I obviously don't believe because it was clearly intentional. She said that if I wanted, she could put me on the next flight, but that would be in 2 days, as most flights were already booked due to the holiday season. It made no sense to arrive 2 days later because I would only have 3 days instead of 5. So now it was my choice whether I wanted to go or not. But one thing was clear, I would have to miss this flight. It was quite evident that she had never bought that ticket, but my father would not have left on my birthday, and she wanted to do this exclusively on my birthday because she hated me. It was all coldly calculated except for one small detail. She didn't know how my dad would react to this, but at that moment I no longer cared because after finding the box, that was all I had on my mind, and the whole situation of the birthday trip and the tickets just added fuel to the fire. Even if that ticket existed after the box incident, it's not like I wanted to travel with her. A couple of minutes later, I simply took a photo of the box and sent her that photo. To make it very clear, just so she knew that I knew what she was up to, I sent her a message saying I felt sad because since she was giving me such a big birthday gift, I had made one for her to show her how much I appreciated her. I would say in seconds, but rather in nanoseconds, that she started trying to call me, and when I didn't answer, she started typing, telling me that she was definitely going to do everything possible to get me emergency tickets, and that all I had to do was wait, that no matter the price, she was going to move heaven and earth for one. She also asked me if I liked first class or business class because if one of those was available, it would be the first one she'd buy. She told me to put the box aside and that we could talk about it later when everyone returned from the trip. But I didn't care. I simply blocked her and then sat at home to wait. I didn't even call my dad because the more I thought about it, the angrier I felt with him for never having intervened before. Anyway, 2 hours later, my dad returned home, but Emily was nowhere to be seen, even though we had previously agreed that both would try to be home before 4, so we could quickly go to the airport as my dad likes to arrive with time to spare. But hey, at least he was home. As soon as he arrived, I just let out everything I had inside. I was already quite frustrated with him, and that frustration had been building up for 2 years. So I told him everything I thought about Emily, how horrible she was as a person, how he had failed me by never intervening, never taking me seriously, and never defending me against Emily, always trying to be so diplomatic just to maintain a relationship with a person who hates his own daughter. Then I told him everything about the box where I had found it, and how his wife had never said a word about it until I found it. In fact, I remember that when we were looking for it, I even asked him if I could check her belongings in case the box had ended up there by mistake. And she said it was rude and insulting for me to think of doing something like that. She accused me of implying she was a thief and said that just because my mom had recently passed away didn't mean I could say whatever I wanted. Then she gave me a whole lecture about how she could afford everything she wanted and that she didn't need to steal, so what I was implying was very disrespectful. Even back then, my dad said nothing. He just said she was right and that we should respect her privacy. If we had checked her things at that moment, I would have found this box much sooner, and perhaps my father wouldn't be married to her, or maybe he would. These are a lot of hypotheticals because if my father had been on my side all this time, things would have been very different. Anyway, that wasn't even the point. The point was that he had never defended me. And now Emily's reality was exposed, and he had to make a decision whether he was going to be on my side or hers, because it was evident that she would stop at nothing to hurt me. Then I told him everything about the birthday trip, the tickets, and everything else. I even showed him the text message and asked him what he wanted to do. Of course, he was quite surprised. He wasn't expecting any of this, and now he finally had to take a stand. He started by apologizing to me and told me he needed some time to process all of this. But still, he was truly sorry for never taking me seriously, for making me feel this way, for failing me, and he said he was going to do everything in his power to fix things. But I didn't want to hear that. I told him I would be turning 18 in a year, so I was old enough and I had my grandparents to take care of me. So if he didn't want me in his life, he could just say so. But he had to make a decision now. He tried to tell me it wasn't that simple, that he had to talk about these things with Emily too. And obviously he was very upset with her. He was more than furious about everything she had done, but at least he had to talk to her. That's why I say my father wouldn't be married to her if he had decided to check Emily's belongings and found the box, because he wouldn't be so devoted to her. However, this version of my father, who always looked the other way, still had to talk when there was proof, and more proof, that she was horrible. Not only the box, which can be argued that I placed there, although I didn't, but her messages reacting like that to the photo speak for themselves, and the ticket mistake is too convenient not to be something she did on purpose. So I got very angry, and since I already had a couple of things packed because I thought I was going on a trip, I simply grabbed my things, called a taxi, and headed to my grandparents' house. My dad tried to stop me, but I had already given him an ultimatum, and until he chose me, I wasn't coming back. I had already made a decision about it, and there was no changing it no matter how much he tried. I also took the box with the jewelry. I wasn't going to leave it there. I am currently staying with my grandparents, and they know the whole situation. They told me I could stay with them as long as I wanted. They are my mom's parents, and I see them quite often, and they are also quite upset with my dad right now. Even though they had tried to have a good relationship with him after my mom passed away just for my sake. Now all that is lost, and my father keeps telling me to come home. He says I'm not being fair to him right now, but I have made it very clear that as long as Emily is there, I don't want anything to do with him. A couple of hours ago, he told me that he couldn't just kick Emily out after being with her for almost 5 years. They have a life together, and it's not that simple for him. He expects me to understand, but I don't, and I'm not sure if I want to understand, because I think I've been very understanding for the past 2 years. But I'm sorry I have to draw a line at some point. Luckily, my birthday wasn't completely ruined. I called my friends, and they came to my grandparents' house for a last-minute dinner, and the day got better. It's not a trip as I had planned, nor does it erase everything that happened earlier, but at least everyone cheered me up to have a special day. Update 1. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for commenting on my post. Thank you so much for all the support I've been receiving. I've been quite overwhelmed by everything I've been through in the last few days, but I think with the help and support of all my friends, my grandparents, my aunt, and my cousins, I feel much better now. It's been a week and a half since my last update, and after I started ignoring my dad, he didn't give me my space and didn't take this very well. He kept telling me that I at least had to talk to him so we could sort things out, because not interacting with each other wouldn't get us anywhere. But I had already made the decision that as long as Emily was in that house, I didn't want anything to do with my dad. We had already missed many opportunities to interact with each other, and he had done nothing. From my side, there was nothing to talk about. I had tolerated enough, I had dealt with enough, I couldn't do this anymore. I had also spoken with my grandparents, and they had already told me that I could stay with them as long as I wanted. And as for finances and all that, they told me they would take care of everything. It's not like I had nowhere to stay. Of course, I felt a little bad, but honestly, there wasn't much I could do. So although it was quite difficult, I decided I wasn't going back home or even talking to him until he kicked Emily out. She has been the bane of my existence for quite some time, and she needs to face the consequences of her actions. And my dad has also let her do whatever she wants. He has never defended me in the past 2 years. So I think what I'm asking for is the least I can demand as his daughter. To be honest, I shouldn't even have to demand it. He should do it as a father. We didn't reach this point because I never liked her. We reached this point because she was horrible for a long time, and now she has done 2 things that are indefensible. It's difficult, I won't deny it, but at least this has led to something with my dad, because last night he sent me a message saying he had spoken with Emily and that she would be leaving in 2 days so I could come home, and he really wanted me to come back so we could at least talk about things. It's fine that she's leaving in 2 days, but I'm still not going back until she's gone. I don't want to see her. I don't even want to look at her face. Everything I thought was happening when she surprised me with that trip that's clearly off the table now. I can't even believe I let myself be fooled, even for a short period of time. But hey, I've learned my lesson, and I don't want to be anywhere near that woman at all. I don't know what my dad is going to say. I just hope he doesn't try to defend her or anything like that, because if he does, then I don't see any way I can reconcile with him in the future. Until now, she had only been annoying, but what she did with the box and what happened on my birthday was more than annoying. That was cruel. She was simply being horrible to me for no reason other than that she doesn't like me. And as a father, I believe he has certain duties towards me, with protecting me from people like her being the main one. So if he thinks he can give her a second chance, and if he thinks I am also obligated to give her one just because he wants to, then he's wrong. I'm going to talk to him, and if it seems he's unwilling to let her go, then I will be the more mature person and let him go to live his happy life with Emily at the cost of his relationship with his daughter. If he wants to have a relationship with her, that's fine, but I don't want to be near her, and therefore I won't have one with my father either. That's just the worst-case scenario now, and I still hope he behaves sensibly regarding all of this and doesn't let his feelings for Emily interfere with doing the right thing, because at the end of the day, he is my father, and I love him. I don't want to lose him. I don't want to do something that is going to be incredibly difficult for both of us, and I hope he doesn't put me in a position where I have to cut him out of my life. But looking at the past, it seems very difficult. As for the trip that was canceled, I don't know if my stepmother was able to get her money back or what, but no one took the flights. Also, I can't believe so many people wanted to know exactly what happened with my friend who was feeling sick and if I found the medicine box. Well, I didn't mention it before because I think I had many other things on my mind, but eventually I was able to find the medicine box. It was in a different section of her closet. I found the pills my dad told me to give my friend and gave them to her, and half an hour later, she decided to take a taxi and go back home. So in short, she's fine for those who wanted to know how she was. It was just a severe migraine or something like that. And since I'm here, I'll talk about reporting my stepmother for theft. My grandfather already thought about it, but he first called his lawyer friend who also works for the family when legal matters are needed. In short, the situation is a bit complicated. Since it was inside the house, it's hard to argue that it was theft. A complaint can certainly be filed, but it might not lead to anything, as she can say that I or my father put it there. It's not like we have cameras inside the house, but thanks for the suggestion. Yes, the messages are weird too, but they are circumstantial. Any lawyer can argue that she was just feeling bad about the tickets. We all know that's not the case, but in a trial, doubt can carry a lot of weight. Update 2. Earlier today, I met with my dad because I went home to talk to him, and fortunately, the conversation went much better than I expected. In my previous update, I think I had almost lost all hope and thought we had very little chance of fixing things. I thought he was going to side with Emily and give her the benefit of the doubt or something, but it turns out that wasn't the case at all. She had fought tooth and nail to make it seem like I was the culprit here, that I had probably planted that box in her closet to make her look bad. But my dad had read the conversation between the two of us, the panic in her messages when I showed her the photo. Her defense was already destroyed before their talk. There's another detail my father took as proof that Emily was lying. If she really had no idea and was right that I had planted that box there, which was already quite improbable, then if that had been my plan, it would have taken me a couple of weeks instead of 2 whole years to frame her or whatever. So it was already a bad defense. And on top of that, her reaction to my message was very strange. If she really had no idea, because if she hadn't known what I meant by sending that photo, she would have just been very confused. But she seemed to know exactly what was going on by trying to put out the fire with first-class tickets, and my dad didn't believe her. The fact that she even tried to defend herself by lying about me was the last straw. He realized that he had been failing me, and that he couldn't keep doing it just to be happy with Emily ignoring all the red flags. He asked her to leave, and she took all the time she wanted. She kept arguing with him, but she finally left. And now my dad has promised me that he's going to fix things. He told me that we can go to therapy together, that we can try to resolve things with the help of a professional, and he promised me that he's going to be a better father to me now. It was quite emotional. We both ended up crying, but in the end, I'm glad we were able to fix things. Now he's going to get a divorce. He's already spoken with a lawyer and started the process. It's not the same lawyer friend of my father's because he doesn't handle divorces, but I think he was recommended by him. And I don't know, it's difficult for him, but honestly, I'm relieved to see Emily for the last time. I'm very glad I don't have to see her or deal with her ever again, because I can't imagine anyone hating me so much as to do the things she did. So yes, I think things went well with my dad, and I'm happy he decided to fix things with me. I feel like sometimes I forget to tell things that you would like to know, but I can always edit. About the trip, it was canceled immediately after I left. My father called my aunt, and when he explained what was happening, she said she wasn't going either. Emily arrived about an hour after my father got home, and she did so because in the end she had gotten a ticket for me, although not on the same plane, but a few hours later. It wasn't first class, but it was business class, which must have cost a fortune anyway. And no, nothing from the trip was refundable, and Emily has lost all that money, which is the price of playing silly games. Update 3. A year and a half has passed since my last update, and a couple of months ago, my dad's divorce from Emily finally went through. There are many reasons why it dragged on for so long, such as the requirement here for a period of separate living before papers can be filed. She also did everything she could to get the kind of settlement she thought she deserved as a sort of revenge against my father. But my dad has a pretty good lawyer, so she didn't succeed. All she managed to do was prolong the entire process, but at least now it's over. I know the divorce was quite complicated and that my dad had a hard time, but he kept all the promises he made to me. We spent more time together. He dedicated more time to connecting with me and understanding me, and we also went to therapy together. So I think our relationship is in a much better place now, and I'm quite happy with how things have turned out. A while ago, I turned 18, and in a few weeks I'll be going to college. I'm glad we were able to largely resolve things before I left, and I'm happy that we're now on good terms. For my 18th birthday, my dad and I, along with my aunt and her children, ended up going to Mykonos because we knew how happy that would make me. So things are going pretty well in my life. Update 4. I have something to update you on my story, though it's not much. Well, it depends on how you look at it. My father started dating a woman whom I've seen a couple of times. For now it seems okay, although I thought the same about Emily at first. I have a feeling it won't be exactly the same, but I prefer to wait before jumping to conclusions. Still not living with my dad, I don't think it will ever be the same. That's not what I came to tell, but since I know you'll ask me later and I'll have to make an edit, I wanted to put it first. What happened is that Emily found out about this and called my dad to tell him several things. For example, she claimed he used me as an excuse to divorce her so he could be free and date a younger woman. Emily is 47 and my father's new girlfriend is 38. Yes, she's younger, but it's not like he's dating one of my friends. She also told him that she was planning to sue him for the trip they didn't take, and that it made him lose a lot of money, but so far she hasn't done it. And my father's lawyer told him that it's considered a gift, and that no one was obligated to get on a plane, because if they were, it would be considered kidnapping. So if she files the lawsuit, it's very easy for him to have it dismissed.